Okay, here it is, my full medical bio. My name is Rosebud. I am based in Brooklyn, New York. I am 34 years old, and I have been carnivore now for 2 years. I just had my 2-year birthday recently, my 2-year carnivore birthday, and I couldn't be more grateful. So, I'm now putting together the puzzle pieces of my health, and I'm starting to realize just why carnivore has been so positively impactful for me. Uh, I was diagnosed pre-diabetic when I was 13, and I was able to reverse that diagnosis by adjusting my diet, um, which was subtracting soda and dramatically reducing sugar intake. But at the same time, around that time, when I was 13, 14, I started experimenting with veganism because I wanted to do something good for my health because autoimmune illnesses, disorders run in my family, and I was already starting to show signs that I might be predisposed to certain things. And so, in order to try to head those off at the pass to try to make a positive choice for myself for my future, I thought that going vegan would be a smart idea for me because I was very young and I didn't know any better. Um, Soon after that, I was diagnosed with interstitial cystitis and IBS while I was still a teenager. Then in my late teens, I was diagnosed hypothyroid, and I suffered from very, very, very severe depression. And that culminated in my late teens, early 20s with multiple suicide attempts and some severe weight gain. And then when I was 24, I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia, and that also had symptoms of chronic fatigue. And after that, I started having arthritis symptoms, was diagnosed with arthritis in certain places in my body. I had 2 herniated discs from dance injuries. And then in my mid-20s, I started having chronic migraines. I had pancreatitis twice and very severe anxiety in my mid-20s that made it hard to leave my apartment sometimes. And in my late 20s, I mean, obviously, uh, my vegan diet wasn't really helping me that much. And I have always been very afraid to take any of the prescription drugs that are recommended for any of the things I've been diagnosed with because they're really only used to treat pain or they're steroidal, and the negative lasting impact that they have on the body is so profound. I was worried that the negative effects would outweigh any positive effects that they might have because I've seen that play out in my family. So I wanted to treat it with food as best as I could. And I was still operating under the false notion that a plant-based diet would be the best thing for me. And so in my late 20s, I decided to kick it up to raw veganism, hoping that that might be the answer. And it was not. I ended up losing my menstrual cycle and having muscle wasting and dramatically dropping a lot of weight, and it was not healthy for me at all because all of the weight that I lost was muscle mass. None of it was really body fat, and so I knew that I was kind of at the end of the road because my health was deteriorating and I was miserable. So like 2 years after that, I discovered the ketosis diet, and I decided, what the heck, I'm going to try this. Around the same time, I also saw Dr. Sean Baker's very famous interview with Joe Rogan, and I thought, well, that's pretty extreme. I don't know if I want to go that far. So I thought I would try ketosis first, and I did that for a year, and I saw some really positive results. I was eating animal fats and some meat, and I did see some positive results. but I also have heart palpitations. And while I was doing the keto diet with plants still involved, I started, even though I was supplementing with really good electrolytes and stuff, I was having a lot of heart palpitations and it was becoming very distracting. So the interview was lingering in my mind, and it dawned on me that if I was willing to go so far as to try raw veganism, which is very extreme, why wouldn't I just try this? Why wouldn't the pendulum swing the other way? Why would I be against that? Because what I really was after was some quality of life. So I transitioned to a carnivore diet, and I immediately started seeing incredibly positive results. And I was blown away. At that time, I was still around 80 to like 90% carnivore with some nuts and seeds and just a couple of fruits and plants, tossed in here and there, kind of willy-nilly. And I had one really, really bad fibromyalgia flare, and I realized that I just needed to kick all the plant materials out altogether. And that made all the difference. How sensitive I am to plant materials is profound. And just allowing my body to rest and recover with quality animal products has very nearly miraculously sent it all into remission. I don't have any IBS. I am definitely not hypothyroid anymore. I don't suffer from depression or anxiety. I've lost quite a bit of weight. I went from a size 10 to a size 0 in the course of a year. Now at 2 years, my weight is totally stable. My blood sugar is totally stable. I have no fibromyalgia symptoms as long as I am a good steward of making sure that my food that I eat that I might order from a restaurant is not contaminated with plant oils or seed oils and or gluten. And I don't have any issues with pancreatitis, no migraines, as long as I don't get contaminated, no anxiety. And I just couldn't be more full of gratitude. I was so exhausted all the time. Being a dancer and leaving it all out on stage, sometimes I would come home and collapse. Sometimes after work, I would come home and I would be so exhausted, I wouldn't have the energy to walk my dog. And I would just collapse in my clothes and wake up the next morning barely able to move, being barely functional in the clothes that I fell asleep in the night before. And I was a mess. There was a period in my life where my fibromyalgia was so bad that I needed help getting dressed. I needed help buttoning my shirts, my pants. I needed someone to massage my hands so that way I could text with my phone sometimes in the morning because it was so painful for me. And you could say that was my stubbornness because I didn't want to take the prescription drugs, but I'm really glad I didn't. And I'm really glad that I found this solution instead because this solution is healthy for me. This solution has given me a quality of life. Now I have energy and I have joy and I have freedom and I have mobility. I can hike all over New York City, all over Brooklyn, all over Queens, all over the Bronx. I can perform and I can stay out and enjoy myself. Afterward, I can get up early. I can go to the park. I can play. I can't, it's hard for me to even imagine all the things that I can do because there were so many things that I couldn't do for so long. But when someone asks me to go out to make plans with them, instead of having to say no, I can say yes. I have a life now where I didn't have one before, and I have hope now. I have a positive attitude now. I didn't have those things before. And I'm able to show up for others when I wasn't able to before because I had to be so conservative with myself. And I just I couldn't be more grateful to Sean Baker, uh, to Georgia Eid, um, to Sally Norton, to all of these other people who have helped bring all this information to Ken Berry, to all these other people that have brought this information out into the open. Um, because without it, I was really at a point where I felt like I was going to give up. And and now and now I know how to take care of myself. And so my hope is just that if you hear this and any of this resonates with you, you know, don't be ashamed to take care of yourself. Don't feel fear in taking this step. It may sound extreme, but um, extreme suffering calls for extreme measures in healing to be taken. And if any of this resonates with you, empower yourself to do what needs to be done and take care of yourself because you deserve it. Um, I cannot say what a relief it is to not suffer and to have an answer that is not a pill that I know does lasting damage to my body. So, with that, all I can say is thank you, thank you, thank you. And I hope that whoever's listening to this eats meat with uh, with gratitude and in good health and deep serenity.